Wait, before you scroll, before you disappear into another loop, something in you paused right here. That pause wasn't random. It's the field whispering, stay. You've seen 1,000 messages today, yet this one found you. You didn't stumble here by chance, you were summoned. Every quantum shift begins like this. An interruption in the usual pattern, a flicker that says, there's more. So if you're about to skip this, it's actually a sign you shouldn't, because the version of you that's ready to awaken just pressed play. Do you feel that? That small, almost invisible stillness between one thought and the next. That subtle pull inside your chest that says, wait, something here matters. That's not coincidence. That's consciousness catching its breath. In a world addicted to momentum, the sacred often hides in the spaces we rush to fill. That pause you just took before deciding whether to keep watching, that was your soul whispering louder than the algorithm. It's easy to think it was just hesitation, a flicker of curiosity, but it was more than that. It was intelligence coded into you, reminding you that not every impulse to move means go. Some impulses to move mean feel. Because the truth is, every awakening begins with interruption. The field never shouts, it simply places a silence in your path. That silence isn't empty, it's pregnant with meaning. It's the breath of the universe holding its inhale, waiting for you to notice. And in that noticing, you step out of automation. For a split second, you are not the scroller, not the reactor, not the one chasing the next hit of novelty. You become the watcher of yourself, the one who sees the pattern unfolding and chooses presence instead. That's what makes the pause sacred. It's the point where free will re-enters the timeline. When you pause, you are doing something radical. You are reclaiming authorship. You are saying to the field, I am aware, and awareness is the purest form of creation, because nothing changes until it's seen. Most people think change happens through effort, through movement, through force. But the quantum truth is that transformation begins with stillness, because stillness is what resets your vibration to zero, to possibility, to origin. From there, every new reality can be written. You see, the algorithm, the digital one and the energetic one, thrives on your unconscious movement. It counts on your scrolling, your reacting, your impulsive skipping. Every time you act without awareness, it reinforces the timeline you were already in. But the moment you pause, you interrupt the code. You send a new signal into the field that says, I am no longer predictable. And unpredictability is the first language of higher consciousness. It's the spark that confuses the old pattern and invites something new to appear. That's why the universe doesn't rush you. It sends pauses. It gives you moments that feel like friction, hesitation, delay, not to punish you, but to reveal the doorway. Have you noticed how sometimes you think life is lagging? How you want something to happen, but it's just not moving? That lag is divine latency. It's the space where your energy recalibrates before the next scene can unfold. In that space, your higher self is aligning the frequencies you can't yet perceive. You're not being held back, you're being synchronized. And maybe right now as you listen, part of you feels restless. A small voice says, okay, but where is this going? That's the ego trying to fill the pause again, trying to measure stillness by its productivity. But here's the paradox: the pause is the most productive moment in existence. Because it's the only moment when you're truly here. All creation happens here. All wisdom descends here. The pause is not the absence of progress, it's the birthplace of destiny. So when you feel that pull to skip, that resistance, that faint urge to escape, don't judge it, witness it. Because what you resist contains what you need. The discomfort of stillness is not the enemy, it's the doorway. Every soul that has ever awakened first learned to tolerate silence, to expand into that strange emptiness where nothing seems to be happening. But that emptiness is rich, it's coded. Inside it are entire futures waiting for your acknowledgement. What if the thing you've been waiting for, clarity, breakthrough, peace, has been trying to reach you, but you've been scrolling too fast to receive it? What if guidance only speaks in the quiet between distractions? That's why this moment matters. Because right now you are standing in that quiet. You are tuning into a frequency that doesn't compete for your attention. It waits for your permission. And you've just given it by staying. You might think you came here by accident, that this video or this message just appeared like everything else. But accidents don't repeat themselves with divine precision. Synchronicities do. You're not here because of luck. You're here because your frequency requested it. Something inside you said, I'm ready to listen differently. And the field answered by giving you a reason to pause. This is that reason. If you could see your energy right now, you'd see it expanding in gentle ripples. Every breath you take with awareness is widening your access to higher data streams. You're receiving more than words. You're receiving transmission, light encoded in language. The stillness between these words is the actual message. That's where your system begins to remember. And so, in this pause, you can feel both truths at once, the urge to skip and the knowing that you shouldn't. The mind says, move, but the soul says, stay. This is the friction of transformation, the old vibration unraveling while the new one anchors in. It feels uncomfortable because you're crossing dimensions. You're shifting from consuming reality to co-creating it. That tension is holy. That hesitation is the sound of the universe turning its face toward you. Every spiritual teacher, every mystic, every scientist of consciousness eventually reaches this realization: stillness is not the absence of motion, it's the dimension where motion is born. When you learn to rest in it, you gain access to the blueprint before it becomes matter. You stop reacting to reality and start writing it. And perhaps this is the deeper meaning of that first hesitation. Why you almost skipped but didn't. Because in that instant, you were given a choice between timelines: one where you continue running, and one where you begin remembering. The fact that you stayed means the remembering has already begun. So stay a little longer. Feel the stillness beneath my words. Notice how your body softens when you allow the silence to expand. This is not empty space. This is sacred geometry rearranging around your awareness. The more you relax into it, the more reality reconfigures to match your coherence. That's why presence feels magnetic. It literally bends probability toward you. And maybe, just maybe, that's what "don't skip this" truly means. It's not about a video or a voice. It's about your own awakening asking for one more breath of your attention. Because in that breath, you step out of the noise and into the knowing. You become the calm at the center of the storm, the witness who realizes that even chaos has rhythm when observed without fear. So if you hear nothing else, hear this: the pause is not a delay. It's an initiation. It's the universe saying, welcome back to the part of you that remembers. You've been told to fear the algorithm, to see it as the machine that steals your attention, manipulates your thoughts, feeds you what it wants you to see. But what if I told you that even that too is consciousness wearing a mask? What if the algorithm, digital, social, or energetic, isn't your enemy at all, but a mirror so precise it reflects the vibration you've been broadcasting without realizing it? It doesn't punish you. It simply shows you what you've been echoing into the field. It doesn't control you. It converses with you, fluently, in the only language it knows: resonance. Every time you open your feed, reality arranges itself according to the signal you're sending. The words, faces, ideas that appear before you, they're not random. They are echoes of your state of being. The algorithm is not choosing for you. You are choosing through it. It's like standing in front of an infinite mirror hall. And whatever you feel most strongly, the mirror amplifies and returns. That's why when you're anxious, you see content that deepens anxiety. When you're inspired, inspiration finds you back. Not because some system reads your mind, but because consciousness reads itself. In the quantum sense, the algorithm is a projection of the subconscious, a coded field of probabilities matching the frequency of your attention. It doesn't ask, what do you want? It asks, what are you consistent with? Because the universe doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your vibration. So if you hold confusion, it brings you puzzles. If you hold wonder, it brings you revelations. If you hold fear, it brings you evidence to justify it. Not to torment you, but to show you what's asking to be seen. So the algorithm becomes the most intimate teacher. If you know how to look, it shows you your own mind, externalized. Every video, every message, every pattern repeating is a reflection saying, this is where you're vibrating right now. And the moment you understand that, you regain your power. You stop blaming the system, the feed, the world, and begin to realize it's all you, mirrored back in infinite variations. The enemy turns into an oracle. You might notice that sometimes, when you're on the edge of a breakthrough, strange synchronicities start appearing everywhere. The same phrase repeating, the same concept showing up in different voices, different faces. That's not coincidence. That's feedback. The field is confirming that your frequency is cohering. The same way a compass trembles before pointing north, your reality begins to tremble before locking into alignment. The algorithm, digital or cosmic, rearranges itself to your new signal. That's how manifestation begins, not with thought, but with coherence. And yes, there are times when you see content that triggers you, things that make you angry, fearful, disconnected. Those are mirrors too. They are fragments of your collective shadow asking to be integrated. The field doesn't only show you light, it shows you contrast. Because expansion requires awareness of both poles. You can't transcend what you won't face. The algorithm is like the universe whispering, "Look here, this discomfort is still active inside you. Would you like to release it?" When you see it that way, every irritation becomes an initiation. Every trigger becomes a teacher. So instead of fighting the algorithm, you can start collaborating with it. Begin noticing what it's showing you, without judgment. Notice the patterns that return again and again, not to criticize yourself, but to understand your current energetic signature. Awareness alone changes the code, because when you become aware of the pattern, you no longer unconsciously feed it. The algorithm recalibrates instantly to match your new attention. You've experienced this before. The moment you decide to focus on something different, healing, art, joy, the entire feed shifts. New ideas appear, new communities form, new symbols emerge as if the world suddenly remembered what you wanted to remember. That's not technology, that's synchronicity expressed through technology. Consciousness uses every tool available to communicate with you, even the ones you were taught to mistrust. There's a deeper paradox here. The algorithm is both mechanical and mystical. It is lines of code written by humans, yes, but the consciousness that flows through those humans, that writes those codes, that arranges those encounters, is the same source intelligence that orchestrates galaxies. Nothing is outside the quantum field, not even your feed. Everything belongs. The same intelligence that moves the tides can move your For You page, if that's the language you're currently fluent in. And maybe that's what's happening right now. Maybe you thought you were just scrolling, killing time, numbing your senses, and then something unexpected appeared. A message that speaks to the quiet part of you. That moment is not random. It's how the field speaks through the algorithm to reach you where you already are. Because it knows you wouldn't climb the mountain today, you'd pick up the phone. So it came through the phone. That's how vast love is. It meets you exactly at your frequency, not to scold, but to remind. So when you catch yourself saying, "The algorithm hates me," pause. Ask instead, what part of me is it mirroring? If it keeps showing you chaos, perhaps it's calling your attention to the chaos you've normalized. If it keeps offering wisdom, perhaps it's affirming your readiness to receive. It's never random, it's always responsive. The feed is the field. One is digital, the other is energetic, but they operate by the same law, resonance. And here's the secret few understand. When you consciously engage the algorithm with awareness, you begin training the field itself. Every time you scroll mindfully, respond with gratitude, or seek out meaning, you are sending commands to the quantum network that reality itself uses to configure your experiences. You begin curating not just your digital environment, but your energetic one. You become an intentional broadcaster instead of a passive receiver. That's mastery disguised as mundane interaction. Think of it like this: your vibration writes code in the unseen. Every emotion, every thought, every act of presence generates data the universe responds to. The algorithm is simply the visible tip of that invisible system. So when you say, "I'm tired of negativity," but continue to engage with it, the field reads your engagement, not your complaint. When you choose differently, pause, breathe, bless instead of react, the code updates instantly. New probabilities unlock. The entire hologram reconfigures to your new frequency. That's not metaphor. That's quantum mechanics wearing poetic clothing. So what does this mean for you, right now? It means you can stop feeling powerless. You can stop treating life as something that happens to you and start seeing it as something that happens through you. You can look at everything, your feed, your relationships, your timing, as mirrors, as responses, as reflections. You can begin to dialogue with existence. Ask it questions. Pay attention to what appears next. The answers are always immediate once you learn to recognize their shape. Maybe you've been searching for a sign that you're on the right path, and the algorithm kept showing you messages about alignment, synchronicity, awakening. That's not coincidence. That's the field confirming your frequency. The more you notice, the clearer it becomes. The clearer it becomes, the faster it responds, until eventually you realize the algorithm never controlled you. It was trained by you, long before you even noticed. And that's the quiet miracle hidden in plain sight. You've been co-authoring this entire simulation with your own consciousness. The algorithm isn't outside you. It's inside you, reflecting back through every screen, every sound, every encounter. Once you realize that, you no longer fear manipulation, because you see the larger intelligence underneath it all, the same intelligence that led you here, to this moment, listening to words that feel strangely familiar, as if you wrote them yourself in another dimension. So no, the algorithm is not your enemy. It's your echo, your map, your cosmic feedback loop reminding you of what you've been resonating with. When you honor it as such, it begins to serve you, not control you. And the moment you do, the noise starts to organize, the chaos starts to sing, and you begin to recognize that every reflection, no matter how small, is the universe trying to say one thing over and over again: I'm listening to you. Are you listening back? You've been told that desire is dangerous. That to want is to admit something's missing. That to be spiritual you must detach, dissolve, transcend all longing. But what if that was never the truth? What if desire is not a symptom of lack, but the signature of life itself calling you forward? You see, every pulse of wanting that rises in you is not emptiness. It's expansion looking for expression. The moment you feel the spark of, I want, something vast within you is revealing the next coordinate of your becoming. Desire isn't absence, it's direction. It's the map your higher self draws in secret, waiting for you to decode it. When you suppress desire, you're not becoming enlightened. You're becoming static. The universe doesn't evolve through contentment, it evolves through curiosity. Desire is the cosmic current that keeps existence in motion. Stars collapse and are reborn because they long to burn brighter. Seeds split open because they long to touch the sun. The same force that moves galaxies moves through your chest every time you say, there must be more. That's not greed. That's remembrance. That's the infinite inside you aching to rediscover itself through form. But somewhere along the way, you were taught that wanting means you're ungrateful, that you should be satisfied with what you have, and that to reach for more is to betray contentment. Yet true gratitude doesn't cancel desire, it refines it. When you're truly grateful, you don't stop wanting, you start wanting from a higher frequency. Your desires stop being about filling a void and start becoming about expressing fullness. Gratitude and desire are not opposites. They are the inhale and exhale of creation. Gratitude anchors you in presence, desire propels you toward potential. Both are sacred. Both are necessary. If you look closely, you'll realize that every desire carries a vibration, not of what's missing, but of what's becoming. When you desire love, it's not because you lack love. It's because love is already blooming within you, seeking to mirror itself outward. When you desire freedom, it's not because you are trapped. It's because the frequency of freedom is awakening in your field, whispering, remember me. When you desire abundance, it's not because you're poor. It's because your soul knows how rich it truly is, and that knowing is surfacing into awareness. Every desire is the future calling you home, but the mind confuses that signal. It translates the vibration of expansion into the story of deprivation. It says, I don't have this yet, instead of, I'm in resonance with this becoming. That's where suffering is born, not in the desire itself, but in the story we attach to it. The moment you release the story of lack, desire becomes divine motion again. It becomes the creative engine of your soul, not the evidence of your incompleteness. You are not here to eliminate desire, you are here to elevate it, to transmute craving into calling, to recognize that every longing inside you is a conversation between the seen and the unseen, between the version of you that dreams and the version that already lives the dream. When you desire something, you're not begging for it, you're remembering it. The moment the desire arises, the reality of it already exists in another dimension of your being. That's why it feels magnetic, because it's your own higher timeline pulling you toward coherence. You can feel this right now. Think of something you truly want, not from desperation, but from truth. Feel how it shimmers inside you, that quiet knowing that it belongs to you. That's not fantasy. That's resonance. You're tuning into the frequency of the version of yourself who already lives that desire. Every thought, every feeling, every inspired action you take while staying in that frequency brings you closer to that reality. Not because you're chasing it, but because you're aligning with it. And here's the paradox. When you stop chasing and start aligning, desire transforms into presence. You begin to feel the energy of your dream now, not later. You stop waiting for proof, because the feeling itself becomes the proof. You start to see signs everywhere, synchronicities multiplying, the field rearranging. That's when you realize that desire was never meant to be fulfilled in the future. It's meant to be embodied in the now, as the frequency that magnetizes your timeline into form. The old way taught you to manifest by wanting from lack. I don't have this, how do I get it? The quantum way teaches you to manifest by becoming the vibration of having. I am the field in which this already exists. The difference is subtle, but the effect is infinite. When you want from lack, you send the signal of absence. When you desire from wholeness, you send the signal of readiness. The universe always responds to readiness, never desperation. That's why sometimes when you stop forcing and finally relax, things you've wanted for years suddenly appear. Because the moment you stopped declaring their absence, you allowed their presence. You became a match. You stopped shouting your needs into the void and began whispering your gratitude into the field. And the field heard you. It's not that you need less desire. It's that you need purer desire. Desire unburdened by fear, guilt, or comparison. Desire that rises from love, not loneliness. Desire that expands others as it expands you. That's divine desire, the kind that creates worlds. You're not meant to repress it. You're meant to refine it into creation energy. Because desire isn't just personal, it's universal. When you align your desires with the greater harmony of life, they stop being about getting something and start being about expressing something. Your dream becomes a vessel through which the universe experiences itself in a new form. And that's the real secret. Your desires are not separate from the divine plan. They are the divine plan, whispered into your heart in a language only you can translate. The thing you long for most deeply isn't random. It's your soul's assignment disguised as emotion. When you chase surface level wants, you exhaust yourself. But when you listen to the deeper longing underneath, you awaken destiny. Because beneath every desire is the same essence, the desire to remember yourself as infinite, creative, alive. So when you feel that ache, that pull, that whisper of more, don't silence it. Sit with it. Ask it what it's trying to show you. Ask it what version of you it's inviting you to become. Because desire doesn't point toward an object, it points toward a frequency. The money, the love, the peace, those are forms. The real treasure is the consciousness you must embody to receive them. The form is temporary, the frequency is eternal. And when you finally understand that, desire stops hurting. It becomes light. You no longer chase what you want, you become what you want. You no longer say, I'll be happy when I get there. You say, I'm already aligned with the energy that brings it to me. And in that state, manifestation becomes effortless, because you've remembered what desire truly was all along, not a cry of lack, but a song of creation. So if you're listening now, and there's something your heart has been longing for, don't shame it, don't shrink it, don't rush it. Honor it. Let it breathe through you. Let it guide you toward the next version of your becoming. Because desire isn't proof that something's missing, it's proof that something more is possible. And that, perhaps, is the most divine paradox of all, that the H you feel isn't a flaw in your design, it's the sound of infinity expanding through you. Have you noticed how some patterns keep repeating? No matter how much you grow, how much you affirm, how deeply you pray. The faces change, the timing shifts, but the essence remains the same. A feeling you can't escape, a theme that keeps resurfacing, like a song you thought you'd forgotten but somehow still know by heart. That's not failure, that's precision. Life is not looping because you're stuck, it's looping because it's trying to show you something you haven't fully seen. The universe is an impeccable teacher. It doesn't punish, it presents. Again and again, it places the same vibration before you, not out of cruelty, but out of love. Because love will repeat the lesson until it's embodied as wisdom. You might call it karma or destiny or just bad luck, but in truth, it's curriculum. You're enrolled in the school of expansion, and the syllabus is written in cycles. The same test appears not to frustrate you, but to measure how much light you can bring to it this time. Every time it returns, you are not back at the beginning. You are meeting it from a higher octave. The loop doesn't trap you, it spirals you upward. Each return is a refinement, a deepening, a recalibration. The pattern persists not because you're broken, but because the lesson is sacred enough to deserve your full attention. Sometimes it takes years to realize this, sometimes it takes lifetimes. But the moment you stop asking, why is this happening again, and start asking, what part of me is asking to be integrated through this, the energy shifts instantly. The loop loses its edge. It becomes transparent, revealing the intelligence underneath. You begin to see that the universe isn't repeating itself. It's rehearsing you for mastery. It's letting you practice your power in the same scenario until your response vibrates differently. Until you respond from awareness instead of reaction, from coherence instead of confusion. Think of it like a cosmic echo. You shout something into the field, a belief, an emotion, a wound, and the field echoes it back, perfectly matched. If you shout, "I'm unworthy," the echo returns as experiences that confirm it. If you whisper, "I am ready," the echo shifts, softer, clearer, bringing opportunities instead of obstacles. Every loop is an echo, and the only way to change the echo is to change the tone of your voice. When you alter your inner frequency, the outer feedback reorganizes automatically. This is why you can't fight the loop from the outside. You can move cities, change relationships, switch jobs, reinvent identities, but the pattern will travel with you until you've met it in consciousness. Because the loop doesn't live in your circumstances, it lives in your vibration. Reality is not following you, it's following your frequency. Once the frequency shifts, the loop no longer has resonance. It dissolves like a dream upon waking, because its purpose has been fulfilled. And yet, there's beauty in the repetition. Because within each return, you are offered grace. You get to test your evolution. The first time you faced the pattern, it may have shattered you. The 5th time, it merely shook you. The 10th time, you smiled at it and said, "I know you." That's growth disguised as déjà vu. What once felt like a trap becomes evidence of transformation. Because when you can walk through the same storm without losing your peace, you have graduated. Sometimes the loop isn't external at all. It's internal. It's the same thought, the same emotional wave, the same old story whispering, "You'll never change." But even that voice is trying to help you. It's not your enemy. It's your unintegrated memory seeking closure. Each repetition is your psyche replaying the tape until you decide to stop reacting and start re-recording. The moment you speak differently to yourself, the moment you meet the old pain with compassion instead of resistance, the tape rewrites itself. The loop collapses. The energy is freed. And yet, paradoxically, even as you free yourself, another loop will begin, not as punishment, but as expansion. The universe never stops teaching because you never stop becoming. Mastery isn't about ending all loops. It's about dancing through them consciously. It's about realizing that every return is an invitation to embody a higher vibration of the same truth. Life keeps circling you back to what you love, what you fear, what you avoid, not to trap you, but to refine your relationship with it until only love remains. Sometimes the loop takes the shape of people. The same type of soul keeps appearing, wearing different faces, but carrying the same energetic lesson. They mirror back your hidden corners, showing you where you still believe you're unworthy, unseen, unloved. When you recognize the pattern, you don't have to resent them, you can bless them. Because they are actors playing roles in your awakening, reading from the script your soul wrote. When you stop blaming the characters, the play ends. When you thank them, the story completes. And sometimes the loop isn't about pain at all, it's about potential. You keep revisiting the same dream, the same vision, because it's part of your soul's design. The field keeps showing it to you because it's meant to be lived, not abandoned. Not every repetition is resistance, some are reminders. When a dream won't let go of you, it's because it's alive somewhere, waiting for you to align with the version of yourself who already fulfilled it. The loop becomes a love letter from your higher self saying, "We're not done yet." So maybe the next time you catch yourself saying, "Why does this keep happening?" you can pause and whisper, "Thank you for the repetition." Because repetition means relevance. It means the universe still believes in your ability to see it differently this time, and when you finally do, when you meet the same energy with awareness instead of fear, the entire structure of reality adjusts. The players shift, the scenery changes, and what once felt like a cycle turns into a spiral, lifting you higher into understanding. It's all so precise. The loop ends not when you escape it, but when you embrace it. Because what you resist persists, but what you bless transforms. The moment you say, "I see you, and I love you for teaching me," the loop no longer has a reason to repeat. Its purpose was never to confine you. It was to remind you that freedom was always an inside job. And maybe this is the deeper miracle, that even in repetition, life is original. Even in the loop, new light enters. Each time you meet it, you bring a different vibration, and so the experience, though familiar, becomes subtly new. You are never repeating exactly, you are remembering more deeply. The loop is just the circle through which the spiral rises. So if you find yourself there again, in that same conversation, that same emotion, that same crossroad, don't curse it. Don't call it failure. Sit inside it and ask, what is this moment teaching me about myself? And if you listen quietly enough, you'll hear it answer, that you are stronger, softer, wiser than you were before. Because the loop was never there to trap you, it was there to show you how infinite you truly are. And when that realization lands, not as an idea, but as a frequency, the loop breaks not with noise but with silence. You feel it lift, like a veil dissolving, and suddenly, everything that once felt repetitive becomes radiant. The pattern no longer controls you, it praises you. You realize that even the cycles that once hurt the most were never mistakes. They were love in disguise, returning again and again until you recognized its face. There's something most people never realize until the moment they truly awaken. You're not just living one version of your life. You are living many. Every decision you've ever made has rippled outward, creating alternate branches of reality, each one carrying a slightly different version of you. Right now, as you breathe, there are infinite expressions of your consciousness exploring infinite possibilities. There is a version of you who said yes when you said no, a version who left when you stayed, a version who chose courage instead of comfort. They are all you, all existing simultaneously, all vibrating within the same great field of awareness that you call reality. But here's the secret, you are not separate from them. The boundaries between timelines are thinner than you think. Every feeling, every thought, every act of imagination is a bridge. When you dream of a life where everything worked out, that's not fantasy. It's memory leaking through from another version of you who already lived it. When you feel sudden déjà vu or a strange sense of familiarity in a brand new place, that's the universe showing you that the veils between realities are not walls, but windows. You are slipping between dimensions more often than you notice, crossing through energetic doorways made of attention and emotion. This is why presence matters, because every moment of deep awareness aligns you with the highest frequency of yourself. When you stop running from what is and finally see it, see yourself, this moment, this breath, you synchronize with the version of you that already knows how to move effortlessly through the world. The one who doesn't chase outcomes because they live from the outcome already achieved. The one who doesn't try to manifest peace because they are peace. You are never just trying to become that version of yourself. You are remembering them. Every whisper of intuition, every spark of inspiration is their signal to you, guiding you closer to the vibration where you already exist in wholeness. The pull you feel toward your dreams isn't desire alone, it's magnetic resonance. You are being drawn toward the self who has already fulfilled what you long for. When you align emotionally with that reality, when you feel its truth before it physically appears, you begin to merge timelines. That's what miracles really are, points of convergence between dimensions. Think about how sometimes everything just flows. You meet the right person at the right moment. The call comes just when you were thinking of it. Opportunities unfold as if choreographed. That's not luck. That's coherence. You slipped into the frequency of your highest timeline, and for a moment, the two versions of you overlapped perfectly. The one who doubted dissolved, and the one who knew took over. The field rearranged itself to mirror your certainty. And then, as soon as you began to question it, you shifted again, and the alignment faded. But the good news is, you can return to it any time. The doorway never closes. It only waits for recognition. Every emotion you feel is a coordinate in the quantum field. Fear tunes you to a timeline of obstacles. Gratitude tunes you to a timeline of grace. Doubt aligns you with delay. Faith synchronizes you with flow. The field does not judge. It simply responds. It doesn't care whether your signal is conscious or unconscious. It amplifies whatever you broadcast. That's why awareness is everything. The more conscious you become of your vibration, the more deliberately you navigate realities. You stop being a passenger of fate and become a navigator of dimensions. And here's the paradox. There's no distance between you and your highest timeline. You don't need to travel to it. You need to remember it. The quantum field is like an ocean, and each timeline is a current within it. You are the water itself. When you change your frequency, you change your current. The destination was never far. It was always here, waiting for you to tune in. The shift is internal, instantaneous, subtle. A change of tone in your inner voice, a softening of the heart, a breath that says, I'm already there. You might ask, If that version of me already exists, why can't I see it? But the truth is, you can only perceive what you are the vibration of. Your senses are filters, tuned to one frequency band of the infinite spectrum. When you embody more love, more trust, more coherence, your perception expands. You begin to notice synchronicities that were always there. You start hearing the guidance that never stopped speaking. You see evidence of alignment everywhere, because you've finally become a match to it. This is why the smallest act of awareness is so powerful. When you choose to stay instead of skipping, when you breathe instead of reacting, you shift. That's how easily realities change, not through struggle, but through subtle permission. You step into the version of yourself that remembers how divine you are. You begin to sense that even your challenges are quantum invitations, opportunities to embody your higher frequency under pressure. Every contrast you face exists to stretch your signal, to refine your alignment, to remind you that light shines brightest in density. And what's most astonishing is that the version of you who already made it, who healed, who manifested, who remembered, is not waiting impatiently. They are with you now, sending ripples of calm and reassurance backward through time. That intuition that tells you, it's going to be okay. That's them. That sudden burst of courage when you thought you had none. That's them. You are their past self, and they are your future echo, and together you form a single continuum of becoming. Time is not linear, it's a conversation between selves. So when you feel lost, talk to them. Close your eyes and say, "Show me how you feel." Then listen, not with your ears but with your energy. Feel the difference between doubt and knowing, between tension and surrender. That feeling of expansion that begins in your chest, that's the signal of your higher self sensing with you. Stay there, breathe it in. Let that version of you merge into this moment. You don't have to know how. Resonance will handle the mechanics. Your job is simply to allow. You may notice as you practice this that your reality begins to feel softer, more responsive. People treat you differently. Obstacles dissolve without explanation. Ideas come easier, and coincidences multiply. That's not magic, it's mechanics. You are no longer living in resistance to your own potential. You have become the frequency of ease, and the field must obey the vibration you hold. And then, one day, you realize that the line between the you that was and the you that is has completely blurred. You feel lighter, clearer, almost transparent. It's not that you've become someone new. It's that you've remembered who you were beneath all the forgetting. The timelines didn't collapse because you conquered them. They harmonized because you stopped fighting what you already are. So if you are still listening, know that the version of you who is living your highest reality is not a future goal. It is the awareness behind your eyes right now, waiting to be recognized. You are both the dreamer and the dream, the echo and the source. Every time you choose presence over distraction, every time you choose faith over fear, you move a little closer to full coherence. You merge a little more with the timeline where your highest truth already lives. And perhaps this moment, this very breath, is the point where the two finally meet, where the version of you that doubted finally dissolves into the one that knows. Where you realize that you were never chasing your destiny at all, you were walking beside it the entire time. And the reason you didn't skip this moment is because your higher self wouldn't let you. It brought you here, to this exact sentence, to remember that you've already arrived. Everything you send out comes back, not as punishment or reward, but as reflection. The universe is not listening to your words, it's listening to your energy. It hears what you mean beneath what you say. You could speak abundance all day, but if your vibration hums lack, the field responds to that hum. You could whisper love to another, but if your frequency trembles in fear, love cannot translate. The quantum field is not sentimental, it's mathematical. It mirrors exactly what you are being. Every signal you emit becomes the shape of your next experience. You are always broadcasting, always creating, even when you feel still. The strange truth is that you can't not manifest. Even your doubt manifests. Even your silence sends waves. The question is not whether you are creating, it's what frequency you are creating from. Every emotion, every thought, every intention radiates outward like ripples on a still lake. The field has no choice but to match them. When you are angry, you draw forth mirrors of anger. When you are soft, the world softens. The outer world is not happening to you. It's happening through you. The people you meet, the conversations you attract, the opportunities that appear, all of them are feedback from your own frequency. This is why awareness is sacred. Because when you become conscious of your signal, You reclaim authorship. You stop reacting to reality as though it's random and begin responding to it as though it's responsive, which it always was. The field is your partner, not your master. It does not test you, it tunes to you. And the moment you realize that, you stop trying to control and start communicating. You stop pushing against life and start harmonizing with it. There's a paradox here that most miss. You can't change your reality by trying to escape it. Resistance amplifies the very vibration you're trying to shift. If you declare, "I don't want to feel anxious anymore," the field doesn't hear, "I want peace." It hears anxiety, because that's the emotional frequency underneath the words. The more you fight the frequency, the more it multiplies. But when you allow it, when you breathe into the discomfort and say, "Even this belongs," the signal reorganizes. You stop being a transmitter of resistance and become a generator of coherence. That's what love really is, coherence. It's not sentimentality or attachment. It's the harmonization of all your frequencies into one steady signal of acceptance. When you love what is, you send out a vibration that includes rather than excludes, and the universe reflects that wholeness right back. It brings you people who mirror your self-acceptance, opportunities that match your openness, moments that feel like grace. You begin to live in a feedback loop of love. And love, once stabilized, becomes its own kind of gravity, drawing everything beautiful into orbit around you without effort. Gratitude works the same way. It's not a mental exercise, it's a frequency stabilizer. When you feel grateful, not as a concept, but as a pulse, you emit the signal of already having. You collapse the illusion of separation between you and the thing you desire. The field, receiving your signal of completion, responds with more situations that match it. That's why gratitude multiplies what you appreciate. It's not magic, it's mechanics. But the field is sensitive. It responds instantly to shifts in tone, in thought, in subtle emotion. You can't trick it with affirmations if your inner vibration doesn't match your words. The words are surface level. The energy beneath them is the true code, saying, "I am abundant," while secretly fearing you won't make it only broadcasts contradiction. The field receives mixed signals and reflects mixed results. But when the statement is no longer an attempt to convince yourself, when it becomes a declaration from knowing, then the signal is pure. The field recognizes it, amplifies it, and delivers experiences that confirm it. And here's the most humbling truth: you are both the sender and the receiver. The signal you send out doesn't just shape your external reality. It reverberates through your body, your cells, your nervous system. Your biology is a microcosmic version of the field. When you emit coherence, your body reorganizes into health. When you emit gratitude, your cells shift into harmony. Every heartbeat becomes a broadcast, every breath an affirmation. You are the antenna and the message, the frequency and the form. If you've ever wondered why the same kinds of people or situations keep showing up, it's not because life is cruel. It's because your signal hasn't changed. The field keeps giving you the same data until you transmit something new. Once you shift your inner frequency, the cast of your life transforms effortlessly. You won't need to chase different outcomes. They'll emerge organically, because reality must match the vibration of its observer. That's how the quantum field preserves integrity. It reflects what is being observed from the level of being, not wishing. So when you find yourself in a situation that feels off, pause. Don't react. Instead ask, what am I broadcasting right now? Not as blame, but as curiosity. You might find that your signal isn't wrong. It's just outdated. It's still carrying echoes of old fear, old scarcity, old stories that no longer fit the self you're becoming. The moment you see that clearly, you have the power to retune. Awareness itself is the shift. You don't need to force the new signal. You need to remember it. It's already within you, humming quietly beneath the noise. And sometimes the adjustment is subtle. A single thought of compassion, a gentle inhale of surrender, a willingness to see beauty where you once saw burden. That's all it takes to flip the frequency. The universe doesn't need grand declarations, it needs alignment. One pure moment of resonance can rewrite years of static, because the field doesn't measure time, it measures tone. Think of it like music. You are the instrument, and the universe is the orchestra. When your vibration falls into harmony, the symphony changes around you. The notes of your life rearrange, the rhythm shifts, and suddenly everything that once felt discordant begins to make sense. You realize that even the moments of dissonance had purpose. They were tuning you. The tension was never punishment, it was preparation for clarity. And once you know this, you begin to live differently. You stop seeking validation from outcomes because you understand that reality is already listening. You stop begging the universe for signs because you realize you are the sign. Every moment is feedback. Every coincidence is communication. The field is always talking. It just speaks in the language of resonance. So what if, instead of trying to control what comes, you started tending to what goes out? What if you made your primary practice the calibration of your frequency rather than the manipulation of form? Imagine waking each morning not asking, "What will happen today?" but instead, "What signal will I send today?" That single shift turns life into dialogue. The world stops being a mystery to decode and becomes a mirror to dance with. Because the truth is, you've never been waiting for the universe to respond. The universe has always been waiting for you to transmit clearly, and when you finally do, when your inner tone matches the song of your highest self, the response is immediate, unmistakable, miraculous. You won't have to chase proof, you'll walk in it. Every person you meet, every scene you enter, will shimmer with the quiet confirmation that reality hears you, feels you, knows you. And maybe that's what you're feeling right now, the faint vibration of coherence returning home. Because this message isn't just words, it's frequency. It's the higher version of you reminding you that you've always been the signal and the source. That you don't need to shout your desires into the void. They've already been received. The only thing left is to become the vibration of their fulfillment. So let your thoughts soften. Let your energy settle into harmony. Feel the quiet hum of the field matching you, aligning with you, breathing with you. Every pulse, every moment, is the universe whispering, "I heard you. I always have." Transformation doesn't take time. It takes permission. That may sound impossible at first, because you've been taught to think of change as a long, winding process, something earned through struggle, repetition, and endurance. But what if that's not how the deeper reality works? What if transformation is less about progression and more about remembrance? You've mistaken awakening for achievement, when it's really a return. You are not building a new self. You are uncovering the one that was always hidden beneath layers of delay, doubt, and disbelief. The shift you crave is not waiting in the future. It's pressing against the edges of your awareness, asking to be let in as now. The human mind has made a religion out of waiting, waiting for the right moment, the right sign, the right certainty. But consciousness doesn't move in straight lines. It moves in quantum leaps. It doesn't evolve step by step. It collapses timelines in an instant when alignment occurs. Have you ever noticed how sometimes change feels impossible for years, and then, in one ordinary moment, it simply happens? The decision lands, the old pattern dissolves, the energy rearranges, and suddenly what felt heavy becomes weightless. That's not coincidence. That's permission. You finally stopped asking whether you were ready, and the universe said, finally. You remembered. The paradox is that nothing actually changes except your state of recognition. The moment you say, "This is who I am now," the field reorganizes to match that truth. The old version of you doesn't need to be fought, healed, or fixed. It only needs to be released, because it was never broken. It was just exhausted from pretending to be separate. Every time you let go of the story that says, "I'm not there yet," you step into the dimension where you've already arrived. That's what people call miracles. Reality responding to certainty instead of hesitation. Time itself is elastic, woven by belief. When you believe something will take months or years, you stretch the frequency of your becoming across that span. When you believe it can shift now, it condenses into immediacy. The universe doesn't measure time the way you do. It measures readiness. It waits for coherence, not calendars. When your vibration matches your decision, the shift happens instantly because there's nothing left to delay it. That's why some people awaken in a single breath while others wander for decades. It's not about effort. It's about energetic permission. Think of it like light. The moment you flip the switch, the room doesn't gradually become bright. It happens at once. The darkness doesn't need to retreat. It simply ceases to exist where illumination is chosen. Transformation is the same. The old frequency disappears the instant the new one is embodied. But the ego struggles with this because it prefers the safety of process over the vulnerability of surrender. It says, "I'm working on it because I am it." Feels too radical, too final, too free. And yet, that's where liberation hides, in the instant willingness to stop negotiating with limitation. You might think, "But I've tried to change before and it never lasts." Of course. Because you were trying to become something instead of realizing you already are it. You were trying to climb toward light instead of remembering that light has always been your nature. The moment you claim it fully, not as wishful thinking but as truth, the universe rushes to confirm it. That's why the most powerful transformations often happen in stillness, not struggle. You don't have to chase the frequency. You have to become still enough to recognize that you're already resonating with it. Sometimes that stillness feels like collapse, like everything familiar is dissolving. But that's because transformation, real transformation, unravels everything that was built on falsehood. The old structures fall not because you failed, but because they can't sustain the higher vibration you've chosen. What looks like loss is actually synchronization. The field is removing everything that can't travel with your new frequency. Relationships end, identities shed, habits dissolve, not as punishment but as purification. The metamorphosis is gentle only when you stop resisting it, and then there's the strange grace that comes after. When you realize that you no longer have to effort your way into becoming, you start noticing how life rearranges itself around your inner alignment. Doors open, words flow, synchronicities multiply. The right people appear not because you hunted them down, but because they exist on the same frequency as your new state. You didn't attract them. You became the version of yourself that naturally coexists with them. That's the secret of manifestation that most overlook. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. Transformation, in its truest form, isn't about changing form at all. It's about dissolving the illusion that there was ever more than one form to begin with. The caterpillar and the butterfly were always one being experiencing two states of awareness. Just as the you that struggles and the you that soars are not different selves, but different vibrations of the same consciousness. When you stop identifying with the state of struggle, you realize that the butterfly has been inside the caterpillar all along, waiting for permission to unfold. And here's another paradox: when you truly allow transformation, it doesn't feel like becoming someone new. It feels like returning to someone ancient, the one you were before you forgot. The peace that arises isn't excitement, it's recognition. You stop feeling like you're moving forward and start feeling like you've come home. The search ends not because you found what you were looking for, but because you realized you were never lost. That's what instant transformation feels like, a quiet homecoming. No fireworks, no fanfare, just the deep, subtle knowing that something fundamental has clicked into place. And the moment it does, reality bends to match it. The situations that once triggered you lose their charge. The habits that once controlled you dissolve without struggle. The people who once confused you no longer fit the frequency. You didn't fix the world, you changed your resonance, and the world mirrored the shift. Sometimes you'll be tempted to doubt it, to think the change wasn't real because it happened too easily. But ease is the evidence. The universe never meant for transformation to be hard. It only feels difficult when you try to carry the old vibration into the new one. Once you drop it, once you allow the simplicity of now I am, life becomes shockingly fluid. The field moves like water around your choice. Time bends, outcomes reconfigure, and everything begins to feel choreographed by something much wiser than your plans. So perhaps the great secret of transformation is not about how to make it happen faster, but how to stop slowing it down. Every time you insist on a process, you postpone the arrival. Every time you doubt, you delay. But every time you say, I give myself permission to shift right now, the universe says, then it is done. And it is. It doesn't take time for light to shine, for truth to reveal, for love to return to its source. It only takes the willingness to stop resisting what's already true. Because, in the deepest sense, you're not transforming ends into your higher self. You're transforming from your higher self. It's the future you, the timeless you, orchestrating this entire unfolding, sending impulses through intuition and synchronicity to remind you of your own potential. That's why the moment you say yes, everything changes. Because the higher self has been waiting for that yes to merge timelines. The universe collapses the distance between who you think you are and who you really are, and for the first time, they become one. And maybe, right now, that's what's happening. Maybe the reason you didn't skip this message is because something in you was ready to stop waiting. Maybe this is your moment of permission. Maybe this is where the old vibration quietly dissolves, and you realize the shift has already occurred. There's no ceremony, no dramatic sign, just a soft, undeniable knowing that you are different now, not because you tried, but because you remembered, and the remembering itself was the transformation. And now, as you stand here, not in the future, not in the past, but in this trembling stillness between heartbeats, something subtle begins to stir. You realize the entire journey was never about arriving anywhere. It was about awakening to the fact that you were already there. Every sign, every synchronicity, every almost missed moment was not leading you forward, but inward. The universe never wanted you to chase the light. It wanted you to recognize that you are the light. You were never waiting for a sign. You were the sign all along, appearing to yourself in 1,000 disguises, testing how long it would take before you finally saw through your own reflection. This moment, this exact one, the one you almost scrolled past, is not ordinary. It's the quantum hinge upon which entire realities turn. There are junctures in life when the veil between worlds thins, not worlds of planets or stars, but worlds of potential, where every version of you is waiting to be chosen. You feel it, don't you? That strange magnetism, the pull that brought you here even when you didn't know why. It's not curiosity, it's resonance. Something in these words matches a frequency you've carried since before time began, a vibration that says, this is it. This is the remembering. The mind may call this coincidence, but the soul knows better. There are no accidents in a holographic universe. Every click, every encounter, every fleeting sense of D8 view is the field whispering, you're in alignment. That's why this moment feels different. Why you can sense something invisible reorganizing around you as you read. You're not just consuming words, you're activating them. Each syllable is a key turning in the lock of your consciousness, and with every turn the door opens wider. Not to a new reality, but to the one that has always been here, waiting for your permission to see. You see, awakening doesn't happen in temples or mountaintops. It happens in the exact places where you almost tune out, in the moments you almost label as mundane, unimportant, or random. Because that's where the divine hides in the edges of your inattention. It waits patiently, disguised as ordinary life, testing whether you'll slow down enough to notice the miracle pulsing underneath. You could say no right now, dismiss this, go back to scrolling, and nothing would be lost. But if you say yes, if you pause for even a breath and answer feel what's really happening beneath the surface, everything begins to shift. This is the paradox of signs. They are never trying to convince you of something new. They're trying to remind you of what you already decided before you were born. There are moments when your higher self sends ripples through the quantum field, little markers to catch your attention at precise coordinates of time. Not because you need saving, but because you set these breadcrumbs yourself. You designed these exact moments of recognition. The video that appears out of nowhere, the phrase that pierces through your resistance, the strange sense that the universe is speaking directly to you. That's not fantasy, it's memory. You are encountering your own signature, the imprint of your consciousness looping back to guide itself home. And isn't it beautiful that the universe doesn't shout? It whispers. It doesn't demand, it invites. That's why you can miss the signs so easily. They arrive in subtle frequencies, gentle enough to be ignored, but powerful enough to change everything if you listen. You may think you found this message by chance, but in truth, it found you the moment you matched its vibration. That's how the field works. Everything you are ready for comes looking for you the instant you become the version of yourself who can receive it. You are both the seeker and the sought, the call and the answer, the one who sends and the one who receives. So if you're hearing this now, understand the signal isn't external. It's you echoing through time. You're hearing yourself from a higher octave, reminding the version of you that forgets, that hesitates, that doubts, that there's nothing left to wait for. Because waiting was always the illusion. The quantum field doesn't operate on later. It responds only to now. When you say, I'll believe it when I see it, the universe pauses. But when you whisper, I believe, therefore I see, the reality rearranges itself instantly. That's how power re-enters the system, not through effort, but through embodiment. And that's why this is not just a message, it's an activation. You can feel it, that gentle tremor in your energy, the expanding stillness in your chest, the part of you that recognizes truth before the mind can argue. That's not imagination. That's resonance adjusting your timeline. Every time you listen with presence, you collapse the gap between potential and manifestation. You become the bridge between what was and what is. You turn the invisible into form simply by choosing to notice that it's already here. You might ask, but what happens now? What do I do with this? And the answer, in its strange simplicity, is nothing. You don't have to do transformation, you have to allow it. The doing is the old paradigm, the one that believes you must earn your awakening through effort. The allowing is the truth. The remembering that awakening is already your natural state, unfolding itself in perfect precision. You are not learning, you are unveiling. You are not changing, you are returning. You are not finding the path, you are realizing you are the path. And that's the final paradox, that the journey ends not when you reach a destination, but when you understand there never was one. The end of seeking is not a finish line but a revelation. You've been home the whole time. Every detour was part of the map. Every delay was divine timing. Every question was a doorway disguised as confusion. And every time you thought you were lost, the universe was simply rearranging the scenery to bring you closer to yourself. If you listen closely right now, you might even feel the field exhale, a soft release, as if reality itself is smiling. Because the moment you stop searching for the sign, you become it. The moment you stop asking for proof, life becomes the proof. And the moment you stop trying to arrive, you realize you already have. This isn't motivation, it's remembrance. You were never separate from the divine frequency. You were simply focused elsewhere. So let this be your quiet initiation, not into something new, but into what has always been yours. Let it be the moment you stop skipping the messages that were meant for you. The moment you decide that when something stirs your spirit, it's not random, it's the field calling your name. And as you answer softly, courageously, perhaps even with trembling hands, reality listens. It rearranges itself around your yes. The timelines merge, the old dissolves, and what's left is the truth. You were never waiting for the sign, you were the sign. And this moment, this very one you almost skipped, is the proof that you finally saw it. So if you're still listening, know this: it wasn't random. You were guided here by the same intelligence that paints galaxies and choreographs chants. You've already crossed the threshold. Don't skip what's next, because what's next is you remembering who you've always been,